Hello and welcome to the National Leadership Briefing. My name is Doug Sharp and I will be your host for today. It is Friday, November the 7th. We're getting close to the end of the year, and I know I'm going to lose your attention as we get closer to Christmas. So, we are going to ensure that we make the absolute best use of our time between now and Christmas to be as effective as we can as citizens to execute the strategy that we're working on. And as you know, if you have been tracking with us over the course of the last 4 months, you know that we are on a very specific track to exercise our authority as citizens of Canada, fully exercise our authority as party members in the Conservative Party of Canada in an effort to help get things back on track. We have strayed a long way away from the original vision of the Conservative Party of Canada, and we're all here to help because you know what? We want to be all living back in that dreamland when we're under one big tent and we're fighting the evil liberal horde as it comes over the hill. So we're going to actually work as hard as we can to save what is left of the remnant of the Conservative Party of Canada and do our part as party members just because we have a responsibility. We're in there trying to do our best every day. We want to make sure that we're having a positive impact on the direction of the party. But why are we doing it? That's the most important part, is because we believe that when you have good government, that the people prosper. You can have a good government in place that prioritizes the health and well-being of citizens. You can have a good government that focuses on building a future for our children and future generations. And you can have a good government that makes sure that they prioritize the safety and security of their citizens. So we're working in that direction. We're all working together and we're executing a plan. It's so good to have you back here again. Now, we're going to come right back after this introduction, and we are going to begin with the agenda. And I'm going to be telling you what we're going to accomplish here today as we spend the next hour together. So, appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming. We'll be back in a flash. These are the things that we believe in. First, that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want. Second, that those we elect to serve us in civil government must respect and defend our right of belief and freedom of religion. Number three, that the laws and policies of civil government must provide for the safety and security of the citizens, especially the vulnerable among us. And number four, that it is inappropriate to heap debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. They came from you. They're your pillars. They're the things that you believe. Okay, let's get right to it. All right. Now, it is, as I say, November, and we've had now since August of this year where we began to work on the challenge that we have before us with this deterioration of our ability to have an impact within the Conservative Party of Canada and participate as equal as people who share our views and values as Christians. So, our views and values, the way it had always been right from the beginning of the first days of the party, our views and values were allowed to compete within the party. We were actually able to pick up our $15 membership. We were, at the moment that we got that membership, we were elevated to a place of equality with all other members within the party. We all aspired to gather together to work within a system that was laid out by a constitution, a rule book that the party had to build a good, credible governing alternative to the Liberals at the time, led by Jean Chrétien. And of course, we were heading off a cliff back then as a nation anyway. So we were all pretty desperate to actually come up with an alternative, an option for other people to vote for. And I remember those days back in the beginning because I should, just full disclosure, I was there right in the very beginning. I was on the National Council of one of the legacy parties. I was one of the individuals who actually worked with the other party, that's the Progressive Conservative Party. We were with the Canadian Alliance and the Progressive Conservative Party, and we actually worked together to merge the two parties so that we would create the new unified governing alternative to the Liberals on the right side of the political spectrum. And we had a great dream. We had a great dream that all ideas, come one, come all, let's all get under the big tent. But that has changed over the years, and there seems to be some gatekeepers that have emerged, and we've got some obstacles that have been placed before us, and there is an inequality that has grown within the party to people who share our views. And I'm talking about, it's so funny because we're going to go over today, we're going to talk about some of the feedback that we've been getting as we've executed our strategy that we've been rolling out since August here. And I'm getting the feedback, and people are actually, some of them are denying that there's actually even a problem. But there's so much evidence. There's so many things that we're going to talk about all of that today. There's so much evidence. It's just, don't get caught up in all of the people that say they know that there's no problem. We know there's a problem. I mean, for any of us that are inside the party and have been operating within the party, we know there's a problem. And it's whether we're at a place in time in our lives when we can admit it or not, because it's hard. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's hard to say to yourself after 20 years working within a political system, within a specific political party, that things are starting to go off the rail. It's hard to actually let that come out of your mouth or enter your mind, because it opens up there's a point of vulnerability that's created in the political spectrum, politically speaking. So if all of a sudden we say we have a problem within the Conservative Party of Canada, people don't want to admit that because the Liberals will seize that opportunity and exploit it. That is where they sow the fear into us and say, look, be quiet, don't worry, there's no problem, everything's fine. Come on, just chill, relax, just don't get excited. Well, you know what? You can only do that up to a certain point, and then you got to get down to it, and you got to start dealing with the core issues. And that's what we're dealing with our strategy. Now, for people that are brand new, you just don't have any clue what I'm talking about. If you haven't been on the briefings since August, then you are coming in cold and you are not even the slightest bit aware of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you the way that you can catch yourself up faster than any other way. And that is for you to, first off, if you are registered for the briefing and you're going to get the post-briefing notes, I'm going to make sure that you have direct links to our August, September, and October briefings. That's each month for 1 hour, once a month. We're always doing a briefing, and those briefings are posted on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to put links to those. And you should start in August, and you should watch it. Now, feel free to watch it at twice the speed. On YouTube, you can crank it up to twice the speed and get through it twice as fast. But you want that foundation of understanding of what it is that we're doing. I'm going to be able to review a bit of it today for you, but you really want to go back and review that. Now, if you aren't registered for the National Leadership Briefing and you're not going to get the post notes today by email, then what you're going to want to do is register for the next one. So you're always going to get the post notes, and that means going to nlbcanada.ca, nlbcanada.ca, and you can register for the next briefing, and then we'll just spoon feed you. We'll just deliver it all right to you. And that's the easiest way for you to do this, right? But in the meantime, if you're not registered for the briefing, go to our YouTube channel. Just search National Leadership Briefing on YouTube. You will see where our videos are archived. They're all put on there for the last 5 years. They're all up there. You can look at them. And the first one you want to watch, like I say, is August 2025. Then watch the September, then watch the October, then come back to the August one, and this will make more sense. The second thing I want you to do while you're at that YouTube channel, and again, I'll put the quick links in the post notes if you're registered already, is I want you to make sure that you've watched the National Leadership Briefings NLB Essential Training videos. Now, they are posted on a playlist on our YouTube channel. And again, for those of you who've been on the briefing, I say this every time. If you have a foundation of understanding of who we are and what it is that we're doing here, what we're doing here and how we're doing it, then you have a better ability to comprehend and to track with us as we execute strategies like the one we're going to talk about today. And that is to help repair the breach in the original vision of the Conservative Party of Canada and get us all back on track with doing our job together as equals within the party. So this is really important that you watch those NLB Essential Training videos. Now, another thing I want you to do while you're watching the videos is I want you to remember one thing about about the national leadership briefing is don't look at it from the perspective of is that we're just for everybody out there, because you know what, we're not for everybody out there. You know how there's content creators out there that are just like spewing out content. They're constantly like posting on Facebook, they're constantly putting up YouTube channels, they're out there doing this thing 2-3 times a day, and they're doing little shorts and everything because they want to get eyeballs on it. Well, at the national leadership briefing, we do not do that because we don't want a bunch of people passively sitting at their computer watching me speak and just being, oh, isn't that interesting? That's so interesting. I've got another 15 minutes I can kill watching this guy just spout. That's not what we're doing. Is we're doing one of two things. We're either catalyzing people that are inactive into action, or we're taking the people that are in action and helping them to refine their approach. We are not trying to serve up entertainment and just something that you could passively watch and say, oh, that's nice. As a matter of fact, I personally consider that and professionally consider that a mark of my personal and professional failure if you say, oh, that's so nice, Doug. I'm so glad you're out there doing what you do. If you say that to me, I go, oh my gosh, I got a problem, because that means you're thinking I'm out there doing it. No, everything about what we do here on the briefing is about you taking what you need to do and going out there and doing it. Now, I understand that not everybody's ready to take action. That's fine. I mean, our organization is called Family Action, Canada Family Action. For 25 years, we have been working strategies on trying to really understand the human mind and the mind of the citizen as to what it takes them, what it needs to take them from a place of inaction to actually a place of taking action, meaningful action. And that first little section, that first little moment in time of going from knowing nothing or maybe not even understanding that there's a challenge that needs to be addressed to a place of actually doing something about it, can get that little period of time is the most vulnerable period of time. That is when the seed gets stolen. In the most, if I can reference a biblical scripture, there is the seed of opportunity, the seed of hopefulness, the seed of you taking action can get stolen really short term, and it gets stolen in the smallest of ways. You could actually be sitting there and you could be all spun up into understanding, wait a second, abortion law, we don't have any abortion law in Canada, or euthanasia. How many people have we euthanized in Canada now over the course of the last 6 years? I mean, this is crazy. But then you go, man, we got to do something about it. And then from that point on to you taking action, that's usually when we lose most people. So again, that's why I say we want to spark you or catalyze you into taking action. And then once you start moving, we want to help direct you and steer you so you continue on in an effective, strategic, and tactical way. That's what we do. We're not out there just spraying entertainment all over the internet for people to enjoy. As a matter of fact, I hope this isn't, I mean, I hope it's not painful, but I'm not here to make it enjoyable for you, because sometimes we share some hard stuff. Like today, for example, we're going to be talking about some of the grievances that we have with the Conservative Party of Canada, some of the reasons why we're taking the action we're taking. So again, it may not be comfortable all the time, but one thing that you're going to leave with is you're going to leave with a better understanding as exactly where we are right now, what the challenges are, and I'm going to offer you up my experience and my suggestions as to what I believe to be the best road forward. So that's what it is. We're executing a strategy that I believe is Holy Spirit inspired. By the way, I don't believe this is something that's created out of my head. I believe that after years of submitting myself to the call on my life to engage in politics, to submitting myself to hearing from the Lord and submitting myself to the leadings of the Lord through the Holy Spirit, I actually believe that this is is Holy Spirit inspired. I believe that this is what needs to happen. As a matter of fact, to the degree that when you take a look at this strategy, I believe that it's the only thing that is going to actually work on the road ahead. I'm even going so far as to say, you know what? I love all of my other folks out there that are working their strategies and who maybe speak against this one. But I have to tell you that if you don't incorporate this one in, they will fail. They will absolutely fail. Now, there is going to be an opportunity, just so you know, for us to work many strategies at one point, but this is a critical component of what we need to do, is what we're going to continue to discuss today. So let's get going on that. Okay, so let's take a look at what else we're going to do today. We've got feedback that we're starting to get from people who are executing the strategy, people that are out there doing what we're teaching them to do. People are coming back and saying, Doug, this is happening. Hey, this is happening. Hey, I heard from this, or this person said that, and this is the reaction that I got to what I shared. So we're gonna talk about that feedback today, because that's the best intelligence that we have for adjusting the plan or refocusing the training on where it needs to be. Because there's some questions that have popped up, right? People are coming back and going, hey, I don't know the answer to this question. So we're going to answer it for all of you. The other thing that we're going to do today is we're going to actually make sure that we when we review the grievances that we have with the Conservative Party of Canada, we're going to do it in a way that really acknowledges one very, very basic scriptural fact. And I'm gonna lean on one particular scripture in Zechariah 4:10 in the Bible. You're probably familiar, where it says, "Don't despise your small beginnings." Though, so as we're beginning to take action, and we're talking and we're running into the resistance, and the grievances are being expressed, and we're reviewing the training, and it's a challenging time, because it's hard to look at some of this stuff. It's hard to look at some of the things that are happening within the Conservative Party of Canada that are causing us to have to take this action. But don't despise these small beginnings of us taking action and the challenges that we encounter, because in the scripture, Zechariah 4:10, right after that, it says, because the Lord rejoices in the starting or the beginning of the work. So I want you to keep in mind that as we start hitting some of this resistance, as we're getting the wheels on this strategy rolling, and as we start running into roadblocks, that even though it's a bit of a grind and it's uncomfortable, but the whole time that we're doing this down here, in our natural realm, the Lord is rejoicing that we're doing something, that we have begun the work. And as challenging as it might be. So I'm going to hold up every challenge that I have with a knowing that the Lord is rejoicing in heaven and going, "I'll have fun. Let the plan roll out. We can actually accomplish this. We can actually get this done." And he's encouraging us by letting us know that he's rejoicing. So anyway, that is one thing that I want you to keep in mind, because as we have our what we call the Festivus moments, the airing of grievances. I don't know if you're familiar with that phrase, but it is something that we need to have joy about. We need to actually remember to keep our heart in the right place and not get all grumpy, because we're the happy warriors. All right. Now, another thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little trip down. We want you to sort of try to imagine what the world would be like if we don't do anything. So I'm going to show you the counterpoint, the counter theory to, if we could either take action or we could do nothing. So I want to show you the other side of that coin a bit and just go into a bit of an exploration there. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that you're prepared for the road ahead. And I'm going to actually identify for you, by bringing a special guest on the briefing here today, what I consider to be one of the greatest sources of resource materials that we need to actually access as we move forward. Now, this is an organization that I'm going to introduce you to that you're familiar with, and they are just so excellent, hyper excellent at producing resource materials that you can use to study issues and understand better what it is that we're facing. And so just know that I got a special guest coming up and a great archive of resources, and we always want to be able to provide you with that strategic, that high quality strategic information that you need to build your confidence as you deliver it. You can know it's a solid bit of research that you've got in your hands as you move forward. So all right, so let's get started. And we're gonna come back, and I'm gonna share some of the feedback, and I'm gonna review the challenges we had and what our strategy is, of course, first. But we're gonna come right back after this, and we're gonna get started. And again, but I want you to know that if you have any questions today, you're gonna go back to that August briefing, and you're gonna watch the briefing in August, September, and October. And then, of course, what we talk about in the next little while is gonna make a ton of sense for you here in November. All right, back in a flash right after this video, and we will again get started with reviewing the plan. Bye for now. Okay, let's get to it now. First of all, the Festivus moment, the airing of grievances and the feedback that we receive. First of all, let's review what is that we're doing. What are the bones of the strategy? Well, where we're at right now is we are in the middle of a negotiation, all of us as individual citizens. I'm a negotiator, you're a negotiator, any other party member that you know, they're all in negotiations. People that are Christians that share our views and values, that feel as though that we have concerns and we want them addressed. What we are doing is we are in a negotiation with counterparts in the Conservative Party of Canada. So you locally, if you've got a Conservative member of Parliament, you are a negotiator in negotiation with your Conservative member of Parliament. Now, what are you negotiating for? Your support. That is what you're negotiating for, because what we've done is we have advised all of the people that we serve to take one very, very critically important stand to begin the negotiation process. And that is to advise the Conservative member of Parliament, your Conservative member of Parliament, advise the Conservative candidate if you are not, if you don't have a Conservative member of Parliament, and perhaps he's a Liberal or she's a Liberal, and you go to the Conservative candidate, or maybe you write a letter to Pierre Poilievre and you let him know, but the message that you want to deliver to them is, I'm out. I am out of the Conservative Party of Canada, which means specifically, I am not going to vote for you. I am not going to give you my money, and I am not going to volunteer for you. Now, what it doesn't mean is that I'm going to forfeit my Conservative Party of Canada membership card. I am holding on to that because I am here to negotiate with you for my support. And what I want you to do is I want you to tell me why it is that I should vote for you, give you my money, and volunteer. I am a Christian. I have very specific beliefs. They have to do with various issues that we're going to talk about, obviously. But I want to see your best foot forward on what it is that you're willing to do to secure my support. Now, why am I going over that as being the most important part? Is because where you begin a negotiation from is the most important part of the negotiation process. In other words, if you start at the wrong place, if you're inside the party, for example, and you're going, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, so why should I stay? That's a totally different negotiation that you're engaged in than if you have withdrawn your support and now you're outside of the committed crowd, and you declare you aren't going to vote for them, you're not going to support them with your money, and you're not going to volunteer your time. That is where you want to be negotiating from. So the onus is on them to get you back into the party. Now, you might say, Doug, I'm only one person. Like, what is that? That sounds crazy. I mean, who cares if I don't vote for them? They're not going to care. Well, that's what I'm saying is that's why we're building coalitions of people around you that share your views and values and share some of the concerns that we all have with the Conservative Party of Canada and their leadership right now, and say, look, get a group of people together. Can you imagine, for example, if you got a bunch of people together, maybe 20 or 30 people, and you contacted your member of parliament and your Conservative member of parliament and said, hey, I just wanted to meet with you because we wanted to let you know that we're out. We're not going to give you any money. We're not going to donate to your campaign, and we're definitely not going to vote for you at the next election. But we're willing to negotiate with you on what it is that it might take to get us to vote for you. We've got 25 people that we want to sit down and have that conversation. We're all keen to hear what you have to say. We're all constituents that live in your riding. We're all eligible voters. So make your best offer. Now, that is the posture that you want to be negotiating from as a citizen, and preferably bring in a group of friends. But even if you don't have a bunch of people there, never discount the value of your voice as an individual when it comes to speaking about these kinds of things. Because if you do in a polite way, remember, I got to stress this. Remember, while we're doing our small beginnings, what is the Lord doing? He is rejoicing. So if he's rejoicing, we don't want to be down here grumpy Gus's going in there and slamming our fist on the table and saying, I demand this and these are my demands. No, 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 no. This negotiation, if you're not having fun, you are definitely doing it wrong. But you need to make sure that they fully understand that you are resolved, that you have zero intention of voting for them, giving them money, or volunteering until they give you a reason to vote for them. Because that is where they're going to start stretching harder than obviously they have been on things like, and this is the airing of grievances part. This is where we put the weight, the onus on them to tell us, hey, we have a country, a nation of Canada here, where the Conservative Party leadership has refused to engage in meaningful changes to our abortion regime here in Canada. We have a country where we have no abortion laws. Yet there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions of Canadians that would support all kinds of legislation to do with abortion. Yet we have done nothing since the inception of the party on that. And one of the reasons that they've justified it is they've said that there's one clause in the policy book of the party that says that they can't do that. Well, that's a lie, but we won't get into that right now. So we'll just say, but there's been a resistance. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the onus on them. Look, obviously, we believe that the life begins at conception. We believe that when you have an abortion, that you're actually taking an innocent life. Oftentimes, it's horrifying to think that you're doing nothing when perfectly healthy babies are being torn apart in the wombs of perfectly healthy mothers. So what is it that you're going to do? I'm here to listen because I want to restore my support for you. I want to start giving you money again. I want to start voting for you again. I want to start volunteering for you again. So this is what I'm willing to do. Hey, make me an offer on protecting preborn life. Or how about this? Why don't you make me an offer on doing something about the train wreck, or pardon me, let me, it's the out of control train that's running down the track, I should say, with our euthanasia regime here in Canada. Are you going to rewrite the original euthanasia law and add definitions into it that make it so that it is even somewhat safe for the citizens of Canada. I mean, we've got seniors that have been placed in vulnerable situations. We've got children now that are being placed in vulnerable situations. We've got veterans that are really at risk, veterans with serious challenges, and we want to know what you're going to do about it because I want to restore my support for you, right? What's another grievance that we might have? Well, there's another one that we want is we've got nominations that are taking place all across Canada over the course of this next period of time leading up to the election, the next federal election. I want you to get out of the way, and I want you to let the citizens, the party members within the ridings, the electoral districts, select their candidates instead of you hand picking people out of the mix. Now, because what happened in the last election wasn't satisfactory to us. We didn't like the idea that our candidates were being excluded from the process and that you would not allow them to compete for their spot to be a candidate within the party. So that might be another grievance that I'd love to hear from you on. So again, what we're doing is over time, we're rolling out all of this information to you so that you can position yourself in a negotiation locally with your local candidate or member of parliament, or feel free to fire off an email to Pierre himself. Now, obviously, I'm working on the national level to actually get in a room to actually have these kind of conversations as well with leadership. And I'll let you know how that goes. But that doesn't mean you can't send a note off as well. So we've got that. We've got nominations. We also have a desire to see you fix what you broke. And what I mean by that is that there was a piece of legislation that was passed back in 2021 called Bill C-4 that jammed the government directly between a parent and their authority to raise their kids. It also jammed itself right between a pastor and their ability to actually counsel people within their church families on the issues related to gender confusion and gender dysphoria. And I'm going to show you something here. I'm actually going to share my screen because this is going to be shocking to you what I'm about to share with you. Check this out. Here is the actual Bill C-4 timeline of how fast this piece of legislation went through the House of Commons. In the House of Commons, a bill can start, by the way, either right here in the House of Commons or it can start in the Senate. But in this case, this piece of legislation started on first reading Monday, November 29th, 2021. Well, check this out. Second reading, the second part of the parliamentary process, was completed on December 1st. The consideration committee was also completed December 1st. The report stage was finished on December 1st. The third reading was on December 1st. Then on December 2nd, I mean, we're talking the very next day, it went into the Senate. Then it was there for 5 days. And then it was completed the process on December 7th. And then, look, check this out. You see that up there? It received royal assent and became a law on December the 8th. Now, let me tell you why I'm showing you this timeline. The parliamentary procedure is established so that there is an adequate opportunity for consideration to be given to each piece of legislation. And what happened was this bill, again, that jammed the government right between a parent and the right to raise their children, and pastors their ability to counsel church family members on gender confusion and issues and gender dysphoria. This went into the House of Commons on November 29th and became law on December the 8th. No consultation with Canadians, no respect for parliamentary process, and a law was created that fast. That is Bill C-4, the conversion therapy bill, they're calling it. Now, why do I bring that up now? Because I have been sitting in watching this since 2021. And we've had an election since then, and there has been no commitment from Pierre Poilievre as leader or any other legislator to actually fix what they broke. because they broke that law is a broken piece of legislation. It's bad law that was rushed through the House of Commons, and they actually flouted your authority as you have an opportunity as a citizen to speak into the parliamentary process. When a bill is produced, when a bill comes forward, that committee stage, for example, there's opportunities for citizens to come in and speak. There's opportunities for members of parliament to consult with their constituents. None of that happened with Bill C4. By the way, and I'll just throw this in now in case there are people that are going to tell you this. They say, well, there was another bill called Bill C6 and it was identical and it was actually, we did all that stuff with that. So it was all reviewed and we had lots of time to review. Okay, well, that's a lie, first of all. I always love to point it out. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm actually going to put in the post-briefing notes a crisis of democracy video that I did at the time. I actually put out a video, two videos, actually on this because I wanted to point out exactly how bad it was that they passed this piece of legislation in the House of Commons. They rammed it through at lightning speed. They didn't give anybody a chance to consult with Canadians on it. And they made it a law. And it's a bad law at that. And then they actually, when they were confronted by what they had done, many of them lied about it. They actually lied. And I know that because I got the mail from their constituents. They actually heard from conservative members of parliament and liberal members of parliament that explained why they did what they did. And many times in those letters, they lied. And so I want you to watch that video as well to understand that why is this a grievance? Well, because we want to know if you're planning on fixing what you broke. We want to know if Bill C4 is something you're willing to commit to fixing once you become government. Because again, we're all excited, man. We're looking forward to joining the team again. We want to be there with our money and our volunteer hours, and we want to be there with our vote on election day for you. Okay. Now I'm going to change tracks because I want to be conscious of time because I really want to bring this guest on and share these resources with you today. Again, you might be thinking, Doug, I'm one person, man. How could I have that much posture with a sitting conservative member of parliament? And especially if I'm in a riding where they're fat and happy sitting in there with like 60% of the, like, think about Pierre Poilievre right now. He got elected with 80% of the popular vote. He's laughing, man. He's there in that riding for as long as he wants to be there, is his view. He doesn't have to listen to the one or two outlier people, is what might be creeping into your head. Well, I'm going to tell you one other little piece of information that you're going to gather from the August, September, and October briefings is that right now there are razor thin margins in so many of the electoral districts coming into the next election. You have the Liberals and the Conservatives neck and neck, and they are competing for support. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I have gathered after 20 years doing this, more than 20 years, is that when I look at the tea leaves moving forward, so as to speak, and by the way, I don't look at tea leaves. That's not the way I do things. But I mean, figuratively speaking, when I take a look at the lay of the land, how about that? I can tell one thing for sure, that Pierre Poilievre will never be the Prime Minister of Canada if the Church of Canada does not show up to support him. So we are in a perfect situation, in a perfect time to withdraw our support and to ask them to compete with all the other choices we have for our support at election time. And we want to vote for them. We definitely want to vote for them because trust me, the evil scumbags that are in the Liberal Party that have proven themselves to be like completely without any moral conscience at all, they definitely need to be defeated. But can you imagine if Pierre Poilievre would have won last election? I mean, I know we want to defeat them, but what would have happened if we would have had a conservative government now? Right now, can you imagine how horrifying that would be? And everybody's so funny. People always say to me, Doug, what are you talking about? We want to get rid of the Liberals. We want to get rid of well, you know what? If we had won last time, this last election, and Pierre was our prime minister right now, And we actually had a government now, and he was able to sit there and go, look, I actually got elected to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and the Conservative Party of Canada is in power, and we didn't have to do a thing about abortion. We didn't have to do a thing about euthanasia. We didn't have to do a thing about Bill C-4. We didn't have to do a thing about fixing the nomination process so that everyone can compete as equals, where Christians can be members of parliament, where people with views and values of Christian views and values can become members of parliament. We didn't have to do any of that, and here we are in power. We don't need those guys. And that would have been a bad place for us to be. Believe me, I would way rather be here right now withdrawing my support from the Conservative Party of Canada than trying to get their attention as someone they didn't need to get into power last time. Okay, so I mean, believe me, right now this razor thin margin moving into the next federal election is going to be it's such an opportunity for us to say, okay, come on, what do you got? What do you got? Obviously, we're going to be the deciding factor. The church in Canada, why, and which is, by the way, why do you think they're trying to dismantle us? Why do you think they're trying to distract us? Why do you think they're trying to keep us from, looking at what's really important? They don't want us to focus on exactly how organized and how powerful we are in the political realm if we all come together and take a stand on protecting preborn life, protecting seniors from euthanasia, protecting veterans from euthanasia, protecting the mentally ill, and we're going to talk about that in a second, and opening nominations and all these other things. And I'm just telling you, don't miss this opportunity, because this is the time to strike. All right. So we're in a negotiation. We're negotiating for our support, but you have to start, remember, at I'm out, no more money, no more vote, no more volunteer time. So make me an offer. It's on them to produce what it is that you need to see to get your support. All right, so we're going to leave right now. We got to come right back after that, though, because I want to make sure we have enough time to introduce you to this gentleman and bring him on and share these resources with you, because this is great material that you can use to raise your level of understanding on the issues that you're going to be talking about with all these members of parliament and candidates. All right, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. And remember, if you're not having a good time, you're doing it wrong. Don't forget that part of it as well. Back in a flash.
The bear has been poked. It's time to wake up from our slumber
and stand together, united as one. One family, one body, one church.
We will not walk past the vulnerable.
Say nothing, do nothing, and turn a blind eye.
We are citizens of a great nation.
We are good Samaritans to our neighbors. You are not alone.
We are the largest unified voice in Canada. So we stand united. This is our rally cry. We are Christ to our nation. This is our battle cry. He shall have dominion from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. Righteousness will reign. Justice will prevail. We are united.
Okay, well, I'm very excited about this part of the briefing here today, and that is because whenever I see something done really well and have the opportunity to shine a light on it, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. And so we're about to shine a light on not only a great man, but a great organization and great research materials. So this is the part of the briefing where as I mentioned before, it's important that you have good information, that you raise your level of understanding of the issues. Now, I want to make sure you don't get that mixed up or confused with believing that you need to be an expert in any of this, because remember, the strategy is quite simple. The onus is not on you to explain to someone everything you know about the deficient abortion laws here in Canada. What is where the responsibility does lie is on the Conservative member of Parliament or the candidate or Pierre Poilievre or the consultants or whatever within the Conservative Party of Canada to entice you back into the party. So don't feel like you're carrying a great weight and a need to get yourself all perfect up before you can enter the negotiation. You enter the negotiation the minute you say, I'm out. That's it. You're in a negotiation with them, and their response to you will tell you all you need to know about where it is that we're going to go from here. And as I say, I'm hopeful that we all resolve this and that we take a look at a real great list of things we care about that we can vote for at the next election. However, if we don't, well, then we'll just begin the work of finding alternatives. I mean, trust me, we'll walk that all out later on if we have to, but that is not my preference. So we just will spend no time on that right now. So here, let's introduce this gentleman. We've got Daniel Zekveld from ARPA Canada, the Association of Reform Political Action here in Canada. Outstanding organization, incredible leadership, fantastic people, professionalism at the highest level, competence at the highest level. They do great work, and they are working a strategy right now that we're going to encourage you to participate in. Now, remember when I said we're not going to like give up our Conservative Party of Canada membership cards while we're saying we're out. We're going to hold on to those. We're still going to go to convention. We're still going to do the things that we need to argue for the best things that we believe in, the policy changes and the constitution changes. We're still going to engage in the party mechanics, but we're not going to vote for them. We're not going to give them money, and we're not going to volunteer, right? Like that's what they're negotiating for. Well, that also doesn't mean that we're going to abdicate our responsibility as citizens. So we are still citizens of Canada, and I'm encouraging you to engage in this process that ARPA Canada is about to lay out for you here. And so let's introduce Daniel to you because I know you're going to just enjoy meeting him, and you're going to really like how strategic and tactical this plan is. All right, let's bring him out. Well, Daniel, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today on the briefing.
Yeah, thanks for having a conversation today.
And an important conversation it is. I mean, this is something obviously medical assistance in dying, euthanasia here in Canada. It's obviously been a topic for us, for you. I look back on your website, your amazing website, and I see that you've been tracking this right from the beginning. But the reason we're talking today is that you've got another campaign, which I believe actually has all the components of something that's really going to be an effective way for people to express themselves, to be heard by their elected officials on the views that they have with regard to medical assistance in dying here in Canada. And I wanted to shine a spotlight on it. So thanks so much for being here. First off, hey, tell me a little bit, Daniel. People may not know who you are in ARPA Canada. Give me the, hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm from ARPA Canada. This is who we are, just to introduce yourself to people that don't already know who you are.
Yeah, so I work as a policy analyst with ARPA Canada. ARPA has two parts to its mission. One part is helping Christians in Canada to get engaged on political issues, and then the other part is bringing a biblical perspective to governing officials. I work, I'd say, more on the second half as a policy analyst, doing a lot of research and writing, policy submissions, that kind of thing. But then certainly also using that research on issues like euthanasia in Canada to help inform and engage Christians in Canada on the issues as well.
Excellent. That opportunity, like I say, we've got one coming up here in January of 2026. We have an awareness and advocacy week scheduled to draw awareness to euthanasia here in Canada. And we've got a very important bill that's been presented in the House of Commons, Bill C-218, that you really wanted to raise awareness on and give people tools as to how they can communicate their concerns to their elected officials. Tell us a bit about 218 and tell us a little bit about ARPA Canada's response and what you guys have to offer folks.
Yeah, so Bill C-218 was introduced this past summer, 2025, and it is a bill that would actually repeal the expansion of euthanasia to people with mental illness as their only underlying condition. So that expansion was passed in 2021 initially, delayed till 2023, then 2024, and subsequently 2027. So if Bill C-218 does not pass, that expansion of euthanasia will come into place automatically on March 17, 2027. So a year and 4 months or so away. So it's really now is the time to take action, especially with this new bill that's been introduced, which would repeal that expansion. So we've started a campaign really trying to garner as much support as possible for that bill, encouraging people to speak with their members of parliament. We've found that MPs really are most convinced by meeting with their own constituents. We at ARPA can meet with members of parliament, and that's fine. We can do various other kind of advocacy efforts, emails, phone calls. All of those things are good, but we found that one of the most effective methods can be for constituents to vote with their own MPs, so that they're hearing from someone who may or may not vote for them in the upcoming in the next election.
Right, excellent. And the timing of the you actually ARP is really good about putting out these resources, and the timing of you doing this right now, I really appreciate that, because some people say, well, a year, well over a year before these changes are going to take place, but we need that lead time to really get the messaging out. And we want to take advantage of, just before you and I came on today, we talked about this, have those important meetings with the members of parliament. Give me an idea as to what people can expect if they sign up, because this is the important thing about these resources, is that ARPA Canada, you're not just giving people something and saying, go make the best of it. You're actually offering support along the way. You're offering to help people to understand what the best way is to move forward with them. Tell us a little bit about the process, right from signing up all the way up to that successful meeting with the member of parliament.
Yeah, so the first thing I would know is the timeline for the bill. So it will be debated early in December. So this is the schedule as it stands currently. Could change. It will be first debated early in December, but then it will be debated again in February, with a vote likely to follow in March. So it's that vote at second reading that really matters the most, because if it fails there, the bill is dead and will not proceed. So the goal is to encourage MPs to vote in favor at second reading, so that the bill can proceed further in the House of Commons. Um, what we're doing is kind of along with that bill timeline, trying to fit in as many meetings as possible before that second reading vote. So for anyone who signs up, we'll give you a sample meeting request that you can use and revise as desired to send to your member of parliament's office to request a meeting. And then early in January, so January 8 and 10, we'll be hosting some info calls. So some people may have met with their MP, may feel comfortable with it, but we find that it can often be an intimidating thing, especially if it's never been done before. So we'll be hosting those info calls to answer any questions that people might have, to talk about what the meeting actually looks like, and what to expect in such a meeting. And if people have not actually scheduled a meeting with their MP yet, to kind of think about ways to follow up and try to make that meeting still happen. And then the meetings we're hoping will take place sometime between January 12 and 23. So this is the 2 weeks before the House of Commons returns. So your MP will still be in the riding, in the constituency office, and likely available to take meetings at that time before they come back to Ottawa.
Oh, that's fantastic. Again, you guys have actually nailed the timeline. You've got the resources in the hands of the people, and you're thinking ahead. And again, I'm going to show everybody again after our time here together. I'm going to take people on a little tour of your website to just show them just the depth of resources that you have. I mean, your resource list on every issue is so strong, and it's such high quality. Thank you so much for keeping that high quality with this latest one as well. One thing I wanted to ask you about, just when it comes down to the timing of the actual members of parliament going back, they you want them to go back to the House of Commons with fully understanding what their constituent views are, from each of their constituencies, so that when they go into their caucus meetings, they're going to be able to provide that input to their colleagues, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal is that they've got just a whole bunch of input from people to take back and share with their colleagues on Parliament Hill. And I would imagine the goal is then to have everybody say, look, we've got a lot of support out there for this bill. We want to see this bill passed. You know, we should really. There's a lot of good reasons that have been presented. A lot of people that are hyper aware of the concerns of advancing the euthanasia regime here in Canada. Like, is that's kind of the where that's the goal line for you, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, if members of parliament are hearing from their own constituents on an issue like this, it will come up in other conversations once they come back to Ottawa, whether with their colleagues, with in caucus, perhaps in cabinet, because all of the parties will have to decide how they're going to vote on this bill, whether it's a free vote, MPs in the parties can vote however they want, or whether the party pushes a particular approach. And the more that MPs have heard from their constituents about the issue, the more likely it is that there will be concerns that they'll raise questions about, hey, if made euthanasia for mental illness passes in or comes into effect in 2027,
Right.
there will be big problems and concerns from many Canadians.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess each individual person that's listening to our conversation here today, I really want to impress upon you that sometimes there's this view like, oh, okay, I'm not the person that normally has meetings with my MP, or that's somebody else is called to do that. Like, yeah, I've heard that where people go, well, that's not my calling. You know, I'm a prayer or I'm a whatever. But I tell you, the reality is that you might be that person in your electoral district that needs to speak to that particular member of parliament to express your support so that they can go back armed with a knowing and a knowledge. So please, I want you to really consider, give us an opportunity here today to put something in your hand that is actionable. The people that are listening here today, something that is going to be easily manageable in your hands. I'm telling you, when you see the process that ARPA Canada will put you in and how Daniel would and his team will walk you through this process, you are going to be a prayer now, but be an actual person of action later. So you can actually have it all. So what's square one? What's the first thing we need people to do here, Daniel, to enter into the process of becoming a person of action on this issue?
Yeah, so anyone who wants to participate can reach out to info@arpacanada.ca, and that will initiate the process. We'll send you our advocacy toolkit that kind of explains the process in writing, and then we can get you signed up for whichever info call works best for you, walk you through the process of sending a meeting request, of following up, anything that you need help with. We'll be able to follow through from there. But initially, send that email to info@arpacanada.ca and we'll get you signed up and ready to go.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to include that in the post-briefing notes for today. I'm going to not only put info@arpacanada.ca, that's the contact point and first point, but I'm also going to tie links to the resources that Daniel's talking about. And I want you to see their archive as well. I'll make sure we include that. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate it. And again, send my best back to the team at ARPA Canada, and we look forward to working with you and supporting your effort in this campaign. It's a great work.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Okay, so it all gets started at info@arpacanada.ca. I'm going to make sure that that link is there. And before I leave, I just want to show you this really quickly. Look here at this ARPA Canada website. You are going to enjoy this. This is arpacanada.ca. Now, when you go to arpacanada.ca and you come to this drop-down line here, you go to publications, and then you come out to publication and check out these various reports. And this is, I mean, you can have government submissions, lesson plans, one pagers, but policy reports here. Check this out. All of these different policy reports here that have been prepared by them. Outstanding work. There's the Changing Canada's Conversion Therapy Ban. We talked about that earlier on. So we've got all this information here that's available for you. I want you to know something. that when we find something like that and we have an opportunity to share it with you to help raise your level of competence so that you are more confident moving forward, taking action, we will take advantage of that every time. So thank you, ARPA Canada. All right, well, that's our time for today. Look, we're going to be possibly going to a more often framework here. We're thinking that once a month here, as we get closer and closer to the election, we may have to go to daily. So keep an eye on our Facebook page, keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Obviously, we're going to keep the National Leadership Briefing to once a month for 1 hour because we really, really like that 1 hour with you. But we just pray that their seed has been sown in you today, a seed of understanding that will grow into action, that you will understand that we cannot just sit back and let people roll over us. Sometimes we got to stand up. So that's what we're doing here today, and look forward to doing that with you in the future now. But until the next time that we get together, whether it's on one of our dailies or on the National Leadership Briefing, please know that we are going to continue to pray for you. We will continue to pray for your family, and we will, of course, always pray for this great nation of Canada. Thanks so much for your time today. Bye for now.
Once every year, the 11th month, on the 11th day at the 11th hour, we stand in unity to commemorate the end of World War I and to honor the great sacrifice of those who fought to preserve our freedoms. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row. Oh Canada, are you still a country worth dying for? Do we honor our fallen heroes? What were their hopes, dreams, and aspirations? Did they believe that we should be free to raise our children the way we want? Did they give their lives to defend our right of belief and freedom of religion? Did they consider Canada to be a place that would protect the citizens, especially the vulnerable? Was freedom truly worth dying for? That we should not be enslaved by massive debt heaped upon our children? Yes, these freedoms were worth dying for. Today, we continue to honor those who serve our country, lest we forget and fall victim to a tyranny that is eager to rise once again. Yesterday's freedoms were worth dying for. Do we now call them privileges only for them to be taken away? Oh Canada, what is freedom worth today? Lest we forget and no longer stand on guard. Do we wear poppy while paving a road of oppression right through Flanders fields? No. We wear poppy because we remember them. We stand with their brothers and sisters in arms, and we honor them by preserving the freedoms that they fought to preserve. World War I was deemed the war to end all wars, but we know this was not the last of wars. To this day, brave men and women take a stand, and we stand with them. We stand on guard with those who choose to sacrifice their well-being to preserve our freedoms. We don't forget why we wear poppy while we're wearing a poppy. We remember. Come on, Canada, now is the time more than ever. Stand up and wear your poppy proud, lest we forget.